So just watch what's about to happen here. The gameplay speaks for itself on how powerful this reworked exotic is when you get the right build set up with it. It can hit near 1,000,000 damage per melee, and we have infinite melees now as well. And that's all without even using Monte Carlo, which is crazy. And this can be done on all 3 light subclasses for the Titan, which I think is so freaking cool. The gameplay will switch to a solo 1840 Master Lost sector here in a second, and I am currently 25 power level under at 1815, so Grandmaster difficulty. We clear this Master Lost sector in 2 minutes, and I still one-shot every champion, and I technically was using the weaker version since I wasn't on the Void Titan. If you guys have watched some of my builds in the past, then I am sure you have seen the Falcon, which is the Void Titan shoulder charging everything in its path. Since I have done that build a few times, I decided to give you guys the Solar Titan version, especially since Bonk Hammer took quite a nerf. Although there are still some workarounds to it, but I know a lot of you guys might want that Bonk Hammer replacement, and I think this build might just do that for you. And remember that this was all solo as well. Imagine having 2 teammates working with you and stunning champions for you, or even crowd controlling them with maybe Strand or Stasis. I mean, I think you all get the picture at this point by just watching the gameplay. We've run through this Master Lost sector like it's an absolute joke, which is pretty crazy to me. And I showed you those couple clips earlier in the video on the Void Titan and the Arc Titan, because you can basically one-shot any champion on any difficulty with all 3 subclasses. But Void Titan can by far hit the hardest, reaching around 858k damage, so close to 1,000,000. And what's really cool about the Void Titan and the Solar Titan is that there's a lot of different things that play into it. You obviously have your infinite melee ability, which is great, but on the Void Titan, when you shoulder charge something, you suppress them or enemies around it. You also create an orb of power and grab that with Devour, so then you proc Devour, and you get a full overshield when you shoulder charge something and kill it, which you're doing when you hit that much damage. And same thing with the Solar Titan. When the Solar Titan hammer strikes into something, it will cause an ignition if you kill that enemy, and you're guaranteed to kill the enemy because you're hitting so hard. So you automatically cause that ignition, which then can create a sunspot for us that causes restoration and heals us. We create fire sprites, we grab those for restoration. The fire sprite gives us grenade energy, and then that ignition that went off from our hammer strike also gives us grenade energy thanks to a fragment we're using. So as you can see, all of this stuff plays hand in hand with one another, and I think Bungie knocked it out of the park with the rework to this exotic. But before we jump into it, we have a sponsor on today's video. Speaking of awesome builds for you all, I have partnered with Apex Gaming PCs to bring you all my personal line of PCs that I think you will really enjoy. With the holiday season fast approaching, this is the perfect time to take a look at PCs, and Apex has also recently partnered with Bread. So if you want to finance your purchase, you can buy a PC right now and pay later with Bread, a perfect combo for the holidays. We have 3 different tiers of PCs to make sure you all can get exactly what you're looking for to fit your style and budget. These models are the Crew, the First Mate, and the Captain. Click the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment, and you can use the code PLUNDER at checkout for up to 15% off your entire purchase. If you all are looking for a new PC, then give Apex PCs a shot. I know you guys will find something that you're looking for. Now, if you guys want to see the Void Titan version again, let me know down in the comments, and I'll work through setting up a new one for you. I just did it a couple months back, but I know with things have changed, a lot of people want to see new videos, so just let me know if that's something you're interested in. Now, for the Solar Titan, it's about damage, it's about survivability, and then on our mods, it's all about getting our grenade back, because our grenade is what procs our damage. So for the subclass, you want to be using Hammer Strike. That's our melee ability, and a really cool thing about this is if your target is defeated by Hammer Strike, they ignite, and that ignite plays into a lot of different things for us. For your grenade, use whichever one you like. I personally like Thermite Grenade the most on a Titan. And then for your 2 aspects, we're going to take Soul Invictus and Roaring Flames. Soul Invictus is all about our survivability. It causes that sunspot and gives us restoration when we hammer strike something and kill it. So this is how we grant restoration to ourselves and we're able to live. But we're going to play into that even further. And then on our second aspect, we're going to take Roaring Flames. Final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities. This stacks 3 times, so up to ×3 Roaring Flames. And our grenade is our main source of proccing Roaring Flames for us. Now for the fragments, we're going to change it up a bit. We're going to take Ember of Mercy. Picking up a fire sprite grants restoration. Now this is kind of just double dipping into the sunspot, because a sunspot grants us restoration and so would Ember of Mercy, but technically this one could be traded out with something else if you want to. The reason I took this is because if I create a sunspot with my weapon, but I'm kind of far away and that sunspot disappears in about a second, right? The fire sprite is still there, and the fire sprite lasts quite a few seconds, so it gives me time to grab that fire sprite, activate activate my restoration, and then shoot the next enemy that I see to extend our restoration with Ember of Empyrean. Solar Weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. We don't have to worry about making ourselves radiant with this build because that's going to come from the artifact, but Empyrean is just going to extend the restoration whether we got it from a sunspot or we got it from that fire sprite. Next, we're going to take Ember of Searing. This is how we're going to create those fire sprites. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. And then lastly, we're going to take Ember of Blistering. Defeating targets with solar ignitions grants grenade energy. This just feeds right back into that grenade, and you get a good 25% of your grenade back when you defeat a champion with this alone. That's not including the percentage you get back from red bar enemies if they're anywhere near that champion because of the ignition. So that just feeds our grenade. Now overall for these fragments, there's a lot of interchangeable pieces here. The two I really like is Ember of Blistering and Ember of Empyrean. If you wanted to drop Ember of Searing and Ember of Mercy, which is kind of your two restoration ones, you could, and just make sure you dip into that sunspot and get restoration that way. For our exotic on the build, that is going to be Peregrine Greaves. This got its rework this season. It takes a little bit longer to activate the perk this season now when you're sprinting and then jumping into the air, but once you understand the timing, it's very simple. It actually doesn't feel like it takes that much longer, but they increased the damage quite a bit on this, which is pretty crazy. And another thing they added, which is amazing, is damaging mini bosses, tormentors, or champions with your shoulder charge refunds your melee ability. That's not even killing them, that is just damaging them. And there is a lot of different things in the game that counts as mini bosses. You know, over on Carl in that lost sector, well, those two yellow dogs that come out of the doors, those are even counted as mini bosses, and so is Carl. So there's a lot of different enemies this can work on, but mainly we're taking advantage of it on the champions that you can see in the gameplay. And we get this increased damage and our melee back on any subclass we use, which is really cool. Like I said earlier on the mods on the build, it's about orb generation and feeding that grenade. So on the helmet, we're going to take double harmonic siphon, so solar weapons can spawn orbs of power, and then also a hands-on, so we get bonus super energy when we get those melee kills. On our gauntlets, we're going to take Grenade Kickstart and Heavy Handed. Grenade Kickstart is to feed our grenade when we use our grenade, and Heavy Handed is to spawn an orb of power when we kill something with our melee ability. And then we're also going to take Impact Induction. Grants grenade ability energy when we deal damage with our melee. On the chest piece, you're going to take your damage reduction mods, and then I like to use Charged Up. Increase the maximum number of stacks of armor charge by 1. This is so we can hold 4 armor charges that feeds that Grenade Kickstart. On the boots, we're going to take Innervation and Absolution. These both are to feed our grenade when we pick up orbs of power, and we're creating those orbs of power with our melee ability and our weapons. And lastly on the boots, we're going to take stacks on stacks. Picking up an orb of power grants you 1 additional stack of armor charge. So now 2 orbs of power will give you a full 4 armor charges, and when we use that grenade, we'll get a close to 50% of that grenade back right away. On the class item, I still like to take Reaper. It's just another way to spawn an orb of power, and then I had Outreach and Bomber. But I'll tell you what, when you use Bomber now, and you pop your class ability to feed your grenade, I feel like you get like a 5%. Literally, that's it. So they did hit the mods pretty hard. For the overall stats on the build, aim for 100 resilience, then hit that discipline and hit that recovery. Again, let me know if you guys want to see the Void Titan version, maybe even Arc Titan version, and I'll do one for each class eventually. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.